A lot is going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on Pod TV and seeing what a number of these news stories are and how they are affecting a number of people. And all along those lines, I know that we've got new leadership in London, and we've got a number of other stories that are taking place as well. I know that Rick will be joining me shortly, and we'll be seeing what stories he's hearing about and what stories Nick and others are hearing about as well, because we know that a lot is taking place in the world, and always glad to be reporting on a number of these stories that are taking place and hearing how they are impacting folks throughout the globe and throughout the whole world and all along those lines. So if you get a chance, definitely we're hoping that you'll be engaged in the conversation with us and that you might have stories that you are interested in as well. So definitely if you've got some stories that you want us to carry here on Pod TV, and don't forget we've got Medicare Moments coming up at 12 o'clock, and we've also got a modern investment coming up at 1 o'clock, and a number of other shows that we'll be dealing with as well. So definitely check out a lot of our shows here on the network, and definitely we're always glad to be participating and giving you some great insights on a number of great stories that are taking place and how they are having an impact on us globally and even regionally and everything like that. I know that a lot of folks are hoping that we get some rain, some much needed rain in the next day or two, because we've been dealing with a drought here in North Carolina. And of course, we've been dealing with some hot temperatures, 100 degrees and more, and everything along those lines. So definitely a lot of things taking place weather-wise as well. So we do know that the weather is impacting folks, and definitely along those lines. I'm always glad to hear what folks' thoughts are about a number of the stories that are taking place and how they are impacting our lives and everything along those lines. So definitely a lot of things are taking place in the world. So we'll be glad to hear more about them and hearing what folks' thoughts are about a number of these stories and all along those lines. So it's definitely a lot's going on in the world, and we're glad to be carrying them with you and hearing what is going on in the world and what folks are saying as well. Trump advisor loses appeal of January 6th related contempt of Congress charge. So definitely this is Peter Navarro. So he was in the news. And the Nicaragua president Ortega says no more elections, extending his 20-year rule. So definitely this is something that folks are talking about as well. And Trump's approval ratings nears record lows, the latest polls show. So the latest polls are showing that he has definitely got a record low approval rating, but he's still high rating among his fans and all along those lines. So we do know that he is still got a number of supporters that are avid supporters of his that can't shake their belief in him and all along those lines. So definitely that's something that we're hearing as well, is a number of stories in that sense. So definitely folks are paying attention to a number of these news stories and hearing what their thoughts are about these news stories and how they are impacting their lives and all in that space. So definitely a lot's going on in that space. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, give us a little bit of a sponsor break and everything like that, and then we'll be back with some more news stories as well. There's definitely a lot going on in the world, and we're always glad to be reporting on a variety of these stories that are taking place and hearing what people's thoughts are about a number of these stories.
One of the things that business owners forget a lot is to prepare for their own retirement.
Hi, my name's Nick Palavita, and today I'm with a very special guest, a certified financial planner, a chartered retirement plan specialist, and president of National Pension Partners, Max Quillette. Max, tell me what you do at National Pension Partners.
Well, Nick, we help successful small businesses and professionals put together retirement plans that provide them the maximum retirement benefits and big tax deductions at the same time.
Well, how do you do this?
Well, we get on an internet conferencing system with the client. We review their goals, what they want to accomplish, and then put together strategies to help them in implementing a retirement plan that benefits them, not everybody else.
Well, that sounds really good, but how much does this cost?
Well, it's really not bad because the first consultation is free. That allows us to go through and discover whether this strategy works for that business and for you as the business owner, and helping you maximize your retirement.
Well, Max, how do we get this free appointment?
It's really pretty simple, Nick. You can either go to our website below or call us at 877-252-1692, and then we can set up a time with either myself, Nick, or one of our other retirement plan specialists, another CPA or advisor in the office, to go over this with you and make sure it fits for you.
Hi, my name is Lewis Haupt. I work with National Pension Partners, and I work with businesses to allow them to put the maximum away that they can for themselves and to save taxes.
Hi, I'm Brad Coyle, and I'm the brokerage manager at National Pension Partners. We're always analyzing plan fund choices in order to ensure the participant's success.
If you want more information on how we can help you and your business put more money away in a retirement plan than you ever thought possible, contact us at the website below or call us at 877-252.
All right, we got more news stories that we're getting ready to cover. Zelensky replaces the Ukraine military chief after protests. Firing of Ukraine's top general signals the end of an era. From battlefield to bureaucracy, Ukraine's new military chief faces tests. So why a week of protests to push Zelensky to bring in a younger military chief? And Trump reportedly approves a nuclear agreement with Saudi Arabia. So this is something else that we're hearing in the news as well. Saudi has reached a deal with U.S. that could let them enrich nuclear fuel, and U.S. to announce a deal allowing Saudi Arabia a nuclear program, report is saying. So definitely that's something that we're hearing about as well, as Saudis and U.S. strike a deal for Kingdom to enrich uranium, report says. And U.S. and Iranian attacks continue as tensions mount on a key waterway in the Red Sea. Iran's health ministry says 53 dead, close to 600 wounded since the fighting restarted. U.S. military completes 11 nights of strikes on Iran as attacks overshadow diplomacy. U.S. widens strikes on Iran as both sides downplay diplomacy. And Trump threatens retaliation against civilian targets if Iran strikes, and Iran, main troublemaker in region and in a lot of trouble, according to what Rubio says. So Rubio is warning folks about a number of these things that are going on in that space and along those lines. So Rubio has warns of dangerous precedent in the Iranian Strait of Hormuz demands, and the cost of their Iran war are rising as Trump and Tehran signal no let up in expanding conflict. So we're hearing this story as well. And Prime Minister Andy Burnham announces a £2 bus fare cap. So Burnham rates climate aid budget to pay for the UK bus fare cap and everything along those lines. So we will be hearing about some things in that space as well. And Burnham announces bus fares across England to be capped at £2. Most bus fares in England to be capped at £2 from January. And it looks like that might be something going on in that space as well. And as we reported yesterday, an Australian woman gives birth to rare identical quadruplet daughters, and all in that space. So we do know that that is something that is being reported as well, is that there is a rarity in the world and everything like that. So rare identical quadruplets born in Australia, 1 in 15 million. Brisbane woman gives birth to identical quadruplets, and all in that line. And of course, we've got ships bound for Saudi Arabia turned around in sign of new Red Sea blockade. So the New York Times is saying, see how Houthis put the Red Sea at risk as an alternative oil route. Can the Suez save Asian oil consumers after the Houthis shut Bab al-Mandeb? So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. So definitely a lot's going on in the world. Get ready to bring in Rick, see what he's got going on in his world and all along those lines. And maybe he can talk about what's going on with the disapproval of Trump, because Trump's disapproval ratings are very low and everything like that. And I did see that Hedges is requesting more funding for Iran war, and Zelensky, as I reported earlier, fired some of his top commanders. But 5 takeaways from Hedges Kane hearing on emergency Iran funding. So Iran war got a $37 billion price tag, and apparently the Pentagon won $67 billion more. So the Pentagon sinking billions into the Iran war. Apparently they're running out of cash. And we've also got Tropical Storm Bertha forecast to hit the Gulf Coast and everything like that. I think we're supposed to get some bad weather or at least some rain, but it won't be the tropical storm or hurricane space and all in those lands. And there's a crew battling a little fire near Pleasanton, and that looks like that's another West Coast story because that's a fire crew combating the little fire in Northern California. And there was a firefighter injured and evacuations ordered as wildfire explodes to 1,007 acres near Pleasanton. So that's a big fire. Y'all had a lot of big fires in California and everything like that. So how's things going with you?
They're okay. So you may want to put this link out again with a different header because the email with this link has yesterday's title on it. So people may not know to click on this link.
I got you.
Right.
I can
so
do that.
the Defense Department that was up in front of I guess the Senate yesterday, and they want $1.5 trillion. That's 1.5 million suitcases, each with $1 million in it. It's as much. They want as much money for defense as the next 18 nations of the world combined. We're talking big countries: Russia, China, India. The next 18 biggest countries, we're going to spend more than them if they get this request. And I looked it up. With $1.5 trillion, you could buy every single building, every house, every office building in the city of Houston, a city of millions of people. You could buy the entire city of Houston and still have $600 billion left over. It's an insane, incredible amount of money.
That's an incredible amount of money.
And Trump's approval rating has steadily declined, but over the past couple of months, there's been a slight uptick. And part of that is because conservative pollsters, every pollster has kind of a political leaning. And, you know, the ones who lean conservative right, who lean MAGA, get better results for Trump. They'll find that Trump has approval in the mid 40s, whereas pollsters who lean left will find that Trump has approval in the mid 30s. And over the past month or two, the conservative pollsters have been releasing more polls in order to flood the aggregators, the people like Silver Bulletin or Real Clear Politics, who take all the poll results and average them. Well, the right-leaning pollsters put their thumb on the scales by releasing more polls, trying to keep Trump's approval averages up. But yeah, they're bad. The numbers are bad, mostly because, gas this is day 3 of gas is $4.06 a gallon now, national average. Day 3 of it going back over $4 a gallon, even though Trump promised us $2 gasoline. He promised to cut the price of energy for your house and cut it in half. Instead, it's up 18% during his presidency. He's not living up to it. No new wars. We're in the middle of this, what looks like a war that can't be won in the short term. And I don't.
War with no ending. The war just looks like it's going to keep going and going and going.
I mean, the war's only been going for 4.5 months. Usually wars take years, but it's hard to see how the U.S. can get any of its objectives in this war fulfilled without a much bigger, without sending soldiers in. And even if you send soldiers in, Iran is a huge country, 93 million people, and it can easily muster 1 million troops. And they've been invaded before by hundreds of thousands of people, soldiers, in the 80s by Iraq, its neighbor. And they fought a war for 6 years and did not fall. So it's hard to see how we get anything we want out of Iran.
I don't know how we're going to get anything we want out of Iran. That's very much the case and everything like that.
But I have a serious issue with these quadruplets. It's 4 baby girls.
Right.
And what happens in 18 years when one of these girls decides to make a little money by going on OnlyFans? They're identical quadruplets. And it's bad if somebody who looks exactly like you decides to start posing naked. So I hope for
but I guess the question I have with quadruplets is that because there are quadruplets that look identical alike, and I know sometimes twins marry twins and everything like that. So will they have to try to find a pair of quadruplets as well? Because that is going to be very difficult.
I don't know, but they just better hope that all the sisters decide to all be good citizens. What if one of them, starts robbing banks? Then the other ones all become suspects because somebody with their exact face is robbing banks. By then, we won't even have banks. We won't have.
Do we have banks now?
Well, barely. I mean, like I go to the bank like once a year now, and it's weird. I used to go. For some reason, when I had a job, they wouldn't give me direct deposit, so I had to actually go to the bank like once a week. But yeah, we don't deal with crime. Street crime is down by 50% since the 90s because people don't walk around with cash. People don't walk around, period. Everybody stays home. They buy their stuff online. So yeah, banks are like a weird throwback to the past.
They are a weird throwback to the past.
Yeah, and the heist movies where people are, briefcases full of $1 million. How are you even going to spend that? Having that much cash is in itself suspect. Everything is electronic.
Everything is electronic. By the way, Republicans are having a riff deepen over their $95 billion budget plan for that Iran war and the SAVE Act. So apparently there are some GOP defectors and everything like that. So they're threatening a budget vote, and Trump intervenes as House GOP is revolts, puts the Save America Act at the center of a spending showdown. So what's our take on this and everything along those lines?
Let's see, how many days until the midterms? Well, let's go to the countdown clock. It's 104 days until the midterm elections. Every day, Trump is out there saying, we got to pass the SAVE Act for election security, which is bullshit because if you're at all informed, you know that the SAVE Act goes well beyond like that. You know how we had to get real ID if we wanted to get on a plane, which is like your driver's license, except you had to submit additional proof of who you are, right? So we have these super proven IDs. Those under the SAVE Act, those aren't any good. You can't use those to vote if the SAVE Act passes. You have to you have to dig up your original birth certificate. Then if you're a married woman, my wife for some reason took my last name. You have to dig up your marriage certificate. 21 million women in America changed their names when they got married. They took their husband's last name, and probably a few hundred weirdo guys who took their wife's last name. Those people can't use their ID to vote. They're screwed. Now, the SAVE Act isn't passing, but let's say it does in the next week. That's 100 days until the election. It should get thrown out of the courts because that's not enough time to be guaranteed that you can get the kind of ID that you need. You can spend $165 and apply for a passport, but there's no guarantee that if all of a sudden tens of millions of people start applying for passports all at once, that you'll get your passport in time for the election. The election's too frickin' close. It's because of issues like this that you can't use perfectly legit, well-substantiated ID to vote. That even some Republicans say the SAVE Act is crap.
Yeah, and everything like that. You mentioned earlier the countdown clock. I remember a long time ago under the Reagan administration, I think it was, it might have been the Bush administration, but I think it was Reagan, actually having one of those clocks that you literally could count down the days until the term ended and all along those lines. So is there a countdown clock for Trump?
Sure, there is. There has to be.
There's got to be one that's available on Amazon or something like that. But I do remember having one. I think that was with Reagan that I had the countdown clock.
Yeah, yes, yeah. There's a ton of them. Yeah, and it is. We have 912 days, 14 hours left of Trump.
How much do we have?
912 days, or just over 2.5 years. Actually, just under 2.5 years. His term ends January 20th, 2029 at noon.
Okay. And Donnie is saying that New York cannot arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, but he did say U.S. authorities should arrest him, but apparently Trump shut down the idea, and Donnie did call him a war criminal and calls on the U.S. to arrest him, even though it looks like that's not going to be able to be done.
No, I mean, the New York City is where the United Nations is, and all sorts of world leaders come to the U.S. Also, I don't know, there are probably dozens of consulates for countries we like and countries that are kind of jerks in New York City. And, if you've watched any episodes of SVU, you know that diplomats, foreign officials in New York on official business can do just about whatever the heck they want and be immune from being prosecuted. So, and that's not going to change.
I don't know. Do y'all know anything about this? Because it's celebrity news, but I had never heard. I guess his name is David or something like that. But it's Celeste Reves Hernandez. They said was unrecognizable, but apparently it's in your area, and it's a singer that is going on trial for murder. And apparently
this horrible case where my wife, we parked at this parking deal where you park far away from a little bit, like a mile away from the airport at this parking lot, and then you get in a shuttle, and then you save a bunch of money over parking at the airport. We're here. A couple of years ago, my wife's like, you could just leave a body here. You could put a body in your trunk and just park it here and walk away from it. It would take so long. That's what this guy is accused of doing. He was having a sexual affair with a 14-year-old girl, and she became a problem for him, apparently. She was going to talk. He was afraid. The guy killed her. I think maybe he cut her up. He put her in his car trunk, and he parked the car at some kind of long-term parking structure. And I guess eventually the car started smelling, and it was traced back to him. And now he's on trial for this heinous murder.
Yeah, definitely on trial. We'll see how that plays out. By the way, and I wish I had a chance to ask him about it when we just did his show, but RFK Jr. is saying that the Cyclosporiasis outbreak is under control, because he's saying that it's under control amid at least 1,600 cases in 5 states. So I don't know that 1,600 cases in 5 states is under control, but it is RFK. So he's saying
he's not the most trustworthy source of information. Now, the nice thing about what are they calling it? Explosive diarrhea is it, in most cases, doesn't kill you. It just parks you next to your bathroom for a couple days. And for some people, they'll lose 5 pounds, and it's a bad way to lose 5 pounds, but it's nice to lose 5 pounds.
Sometimes you want to lose 5 pounds in whatever way you can. It looks like the House has passed a bill to fund the government until after the midterm election. So they voted to extend government funding, aiming to avoid an election year shutdown and everything like that. So it looks like they narrowly passed the stopgap spending bill, but the shutdown fight is still looming ahead. But for right now, it looks like we might not have a shutdown, and that could be good and everything like that. And it also looks like the Trump administration is pausing $1 billion in Medicaid funds from California and Minnesota over suspected fraud.
Trump has a record of effing with the blue states, the states he doesn't like. And he's claiming that there's rampant Medicare fraud in some of the blue states, including California. So California has more than 10% of the U.S. population. There is fraud in every state, and to the tune of, I don't know, a couple percent. And yeah, it would be good to wipe out fraud, but that's not what Trump is doing. He's, the fraud, the action, the numbers of, the amount of money involved in fraud cases are going to be bigger, more likely bigger in California than any other state, because California has 11 million more people than any other state.
Yeah,
you also see big fraud numbers in Texas, in Florida. Florida, in fact, under now Senator Rick Scott, had the largest case of Medicare fraud in history. But you're not going to see Trump going after those states because they're red states.
Yeah, they're red states, but he does like to go after arts institutions and everything like that. Jacoby, this has got to be one of the craziest statements that I've ever heard, and all along those lines. And part of that is because I am the staff historian for the Daytime Heritage Center, so I just find this quote to be too inane, to put it bluntly. But apparently, according to House Republicans, and you'll love this one and everything like that, the Smithsonian is too focused on oppressors and the oppressed. So this is something I thought museums were supposed to study all of history and everything along those lines, but currently to the House Republicans, we're too focused on the oppressors and the oppressed. And even a representative in Fume says of Black history at the Smithsonian museums, if you erase it, we will replace it. So what's your take on this whole notion of them going after our museums, whether it's Native American, whether it's African American, whether it's just a regular historic American museum and everything like that, like the colonial museums that are apparently we're too focused on the oppressed?
All he's trying to do is whitewash history. That's what they're trying to do. It's not about going after regular museums. They're going after particular parts of the museum. They're trying to whitewash history. That's it.
Yeah, we have a history, and some of the parts of our history are kind of ugly. The U.S. has had, everybody knows the one Holocaust, which is Hitler killing 6 million Jews, just flat out murdering them. Plus, what people don't know is that he also killed another 5 million other people he didn't like. Hitler murdered 11 million, straight up murdered them, right? He also caused another 20, 30 million people to die in the war, but the murders, he killed 11 million. The U.S. has had kind of two slow rolling Holocausts. One is against Native Americans, and the other is the misery and death of slaves so we had slavery as a nation from 1789 to the 1860s. So 70 plus years, plus another century before we became a nation. And that's just part of our history. Slaves built the White House, helped built Washington, D.C. And we should be free to talk about that stuff. I mean, there's a bunch of great stuff the United States has done. But, I used to get so pissed in history class because it was the whole first semester was the frickin' Pilgrims, and then the Revolutionary War, and then the Civil War, all of which bored my ass off. And by the time we were getting to the 20th century, which I thought was the interesting century, we were out of time. It was already the end of May, no time to do. So I've had a gripe with how history's taught for a long time. But the idea that you just ignore any inconvenient things that happened in the U.S. is just garbage.
Well,
It's whitewashing history. The reason he's doing that is basically it's the same playbook the Daughters of the Confederacy did.
Go ahead.
It's just whitewashing history to make to glorify the Confederates, to actually show no impact of anybody of color, because if you show any impact of anybody of color, then you're empowering that group. So it's the same Daughters of the Confederacy playbook. That's what they did. That's what they're doing now.
If there's a show, Finding Your Roots with Henry Louis Gates Jr., where celebrities go on and they trace their genealogy, right? And it's every single episode. If it's a Jewish celebrity, it's they all came. All the Jewish celebrities, they trace them back to some horrible little village in Latvia or Lithuania where people lived in homes made of sticks, and they were chased out by Russian Cossacks or some other, and then they make it to America. That's for Jews. If it's a person who's a black person or even a white person, you wait for the shoe to drop on because they trace them back. Everybody was either comes from slaves or slave owners, or they were on one side or the other of the Revolutionary War, and everybody you're kind of cheering for everybody as they trace them back to the 19th century to see whether their ancestors were good guys and bad guys. But slavery is so woven into our heritage that it's super stupid to ignore it.
You definitely can't ignore it and everything like that. I know I wish Tasha was here, but apparently there was going to be a joint bridge opening celebration with the U.S. for the Gordie Howe Bridge and everything like that, but they have now canceled the joint bridge celebration, citing Trump's trade threats and everything like that. So I don't know if you've got any thoughts around this, Nick, because apparently we're going to do a joint bridge opening celebration, but now there's this trade tariff dispute with Canada, so they're going to do their own celebration and won't involve the U.S.
Well, it looks like Canada is going to have to behave itself. If they behave itself, then I don't think there's going to be a problem. If they misbehave, well, I guess there's going to be a problem because Trump's going to smack them, and that's kind of like the way it is.
I have one more thing. Like I was listening to a Dave Chappelle routine, and he talks about this true story of this guy, this slave, who was really good at working and also a really great businessman, and he managed to buy himself out of slavery and became wildly successful. And once he became wildly successful, what did this guy do? He bought slaves. And Chappelle says that it doesn't necessarily say, as it says something about him, how he was kind of that's kind of a horrible thing to do. But he says it also says something about the times that this guy lived in, that we had a whole economic system across half the country where slaves were part of doing business.
Yeah, or indentured servants, which is one of my ancestors that came over in 1650. He was an indentured servant. Now, he was royal, but he lost the war. And if you lost the war, you become an indentured servant, basically a slave, at least for 5 years.
It's slavery light. Instead of being a slave for your whole life, you're only a slave for 7 years.
Exactly. He was at the Rhode Island Iron Works for like 5 years. Then he was released. And then they just stayed over here because they decided not to go back to Great Britain because it wasn't so great over there. But it kind of like that's the way it was back in the 1650s. I mean, it is what it is. Now we've evolved till today. And so now we have what they call employees that apparently are having difficulty getting their fair share of the economic pie relative to the billionaires, who are taking a greater disproportionate amount of the economic share. And people are wise to it. In other words, we know that the billionaires are basically getting more than they deserve, and we know the workers are getting less than they deserve, but no one has come up with a plan to basically do what I call equitable distribution. It's not equitable in the United States.
So here's a shocking statistic. The number of adults who are not in the U.S. labor force, that is, they're not working and they're not looking for work, is at an all-time high of 105.8 million people. It's higher than during COVID. It's higher than during the Great Recession of. And
it's going to increase because 10,000 people per day turn age 65 and they go on Social Security, and Medicare. And what's happening right now? Both those systems are designed to collapse. The year 2032 and 2033 are going to be interesting because we're getting all of our clients prepared for a Social Security collapse. Now, many people listening to this go, oh, it's not going to collapse, things like this aren't going to happen. But let me tell you something, you can't put a probability of 0 on that. There's a probability, even if it's 5%, that Social Security, your benefits, all the people listening, will be cut 22% in the year 2032.
I don't believe that'll happen. I believe what'll happen.
I know you can believe whatever you want.
Here's what I think that will happen. So we kick problems down the road. Like the Olympics are coming to LA in 2028. We have 70,000 homeless people. And I belong to a neighborhood committee where and I'm like, hey, what are we going to do? The Olympics in 2 years. And then I found out what we're going to do based on what we did with the World Cup, which came to LA and other cities. We're not going to do shit. We're just going to, the homeless people are going to be here. LA's going to look kind of crappy for the Olympics because we've got no way of, we haven't figured out how to deal with it. And with Social Security, we're going to deal with it the way we've dealt with a ton of stuff, which is we're just going to print more money to cover our debts. We're going to do that. We're not going to come up with any real solution. And by printing more money, that's wildly inflationary. So you'll have enough money for your, you'll get the same amount of dollars that you always get in your Social Security check. Just those dollars will be worth 3% and 4% and 5% less every year.
Yeah, well, already we have a housing problem. There's absolutely no question about it. They were showing a person who was living in a 2,900 square foot home or 2,700 square foot home. Okay, problem number one in housing. You shouldn't live in a 2,700 square foot home. And the problem that we have is Americans are addicted to the American lifestyle, big homes. And I remember that because when I was in the US in Durham, I had a 2,900 square foot home. Now I'm in a Piso. The Piso here is lucky to be 1,200 square feet. Get your stuff into a 1,200 square foot from near 3,000. But why is it so small in Europe? Because they're all small in Europe. I mean, it's like this is different.
My kids in London, and the average home in London is, I don't know, maybe 1,000, maybe 900 square feet.
But still, it's almost $500,000. But here's the math on $500,000 home. $500,000 home, they were showing it at 6.75% interest, which is what it is. Your interest payments are about $3,600 a month. And this person's going, well, I rent for like $2,500 a month. Why would I want to buy when my mortgage is going to be $1,000 more? And he has a point. In other words, it's a discouragement to purchase a place when your rent is lower than your mortgage would be. But the real problem you have is overall housing is too expensive in the United States.
Because, and you're right, we became addicted to giant homes. That the average size of a home before World War II in America was maybe 1,200 square feet. That's over the next
and it's the number one budget item for 50% of the population is home cost. Now, that being said, how many people took real estate home finance when you're in high school, a class that should be mandatory? Nobody. Why? Because you're taking English literature. You're taking that stupid history course, right, Rick? In high school, history course. It's not going to help you in life.
Yeah, you're learning about the Pilgrims. I don't give a crap about
who cares about the Pilgrims when you're starving to death. A real estate finance course, mandatory in high school, and get rid of history would actually help people. Because the thing is, it's all math driven. In other words, should you buy? Should you rent? What's the expense going to be? What is the mortgage going to look like? Everybody's going to face that at some point in time. And it's 50% of your economics.
Well, it used to be the common wisdom was do what you can to buy a house because it's a safe place to save your money. Buy a house, make the payments. The value of your house is going to go up 5% a year. And that used to be the case. I don't think it
used to be.
So, just to point out, I know you guys are arguing and bantering back and forth, not really arguing, but
we're not arguing, we're just bantering about real estate.
Bantering back and forth about, hey, mandatory real estate, that's not going to help anything.
What do you mean it's not going to help anything,
Not gonna help.
Toby? You want to create
And the reason I point that out, let me get the word out. The reason I point that out is because you have you guys both complained about the history and saying, well, we shouldn't learn about the Pilgrims. Well, that's what put us in the position that we are now, where they're trying to whitewash history and people are forgetting about the history that we overcame. So we're forgetting about where we came from just so we can throw in this real estate class and then forget about the fact that the individuals in the real estate class are being taken advantage of just as much as everybody else.
No.
There's more to our society. It's much more about our cultural problem than, hey, Americans are just addicted to bigger homes and don't. That doesn't make any sense. It's just the actual culture of the society that we live in. Different areas have different cultures. Different places have different values and beliefs. The problem that we're sitting in is based around our culture of our society and not the fact that, oh, well, you just need to throw in a real estate class and everybody will be done. Everybody will be that's
Toby makes a good point, but I got
No, he doesn't.
Hold on. Let me say a thing. Hold on. We are to some extent hypnotized by our possessions. My stepmom, when she was married to my dad for 15 years, she calls those the coma years because that marriage was not functional, but my stepmom was able to deal with it for years and years because they had a nice house. They drove nice cars. They had a swimming pool in back. And that's the deal. If you have a big ass house, if you've got nice cars, it makes it. And right now we have 100, 200 streaming, we can entertain our asses off via our phones, via streaming, and it lets us distract ourselves from some of the other stuff going on. Not everything, but I pull up we got a deal on our house 30 years ago. It's a big house, but we got it for cheap because the floor plan wasn't fancy enough for modern buyers because it was built in the 60s for large families. So all the bedrooms and the bathrooms were too small, so we got it for a cheap price. But when I pull up in front of our house and I see it's a big house, I'm like, all right, so I'm kind of a moral failure. But look at this, I'm successful. We've got dormers in the attic, which we have a 3-story house. It's freaking nice, and it lets me forget. Like maybe I shouldn't be an asshole.
Well, okay. Now let me address Jacoby's incorrect statements regarding history. History, you're looking at the past. Your real estate costs are the current, present, and your future. Now, what would you rather do? Take a class on the past that you can't do anything about. You can't change history. Or the future, which is your real estate cost today and your real estate cost in the future, which is 50% of everything that you earn. So that's the reason Jacoby is so wrong.
So Nick, let me retort. You asked me a question. Let me retort. Can I retort? Or are you just going down this path and not gonna let me retort? So let me respond to what you're just saying. Nick, can you tell me what redlining is?
Redlining. No, you tell me what redlining is.
Thank you. So that is exactly why you telling me that, all you need to know is what we have today is wrong.
What's your big beef on redlining? What is redlining and why are you so hooked with it?
It's not letting, Toby, tell him what it is.
No, hold on, Rick. Now, wait, Nick, hold on. You told me that hold on, Nick. You just told me that I need to learn about real estate, but yet you don't know what redlining is, which deals directly in real estate.
Okay,
so
well,
this
tell me
tells
what redlining
me
is.
that either you don't know about real estate or you don't understand the reasons why we're in the predicaments that we are based on our society
itself.
Tell
me how you make money on redlining.
Yeah. So my point has been
money on
proven.
redlining?
I'll kick back and relax now.
All right,
so
well,
redlining
I'll
is
tell you what
racist.
redlining is. Redlining is not letting brown people buy houses in certain parts of town. In LA, there was a saying.
Is that legal today or not?
It's
I'm
not
gonna ask you this
particularly
question.
legal.
Yes,
but
it is
now they
still
are-
a
there
legal
was-
practice.
I just read, hold on,
the
let
problem-
me say a thing. I just read an article on what there are heritage communities that are being formed across America. A heritage community is they found ways around the redlining laws, and they're making these little towns that are whites only, which that seems like
in America.
It's a bunch of white supremacist lunatics.
Yeah, but you can't do that. Okay, guys, I know you still want to fight the Civil War. Okay, but let me tell you, it's
stop,
over.
Nick. Hold on. Before you go down this path,
it's over.
Before you go down this path,
no,
you have just been told that it is happening,
okay, and that's part of the reason I don't know what it
Nick,
is.
Listen.
I don't care what it is.
Your first
illegal.
comment.
I
Your
don't know
first
what it is.
comment.
I don't care what it
Your
is.
first wait, Nick. Your first response to being told
Get over.
the factual realities of not only the history behind redlining,
Who cares?
the fact that it's still happening because people are going around
It
that
can't happen
today. You were saying that it's not
Nick,
happening.
you're saying
Well, it is
It
happening.
cannot happen today because it's illegal. You cannot discriminate.
Do you know how many?
I went
Nick,
to law school. You guys
do you know how
did.
many?
And law,
This
Do you know
is
how
why
much
we
land
do
has been?
history.
Hold on a second,
Race
Nick.
and
Nick,
sex.
do you know how
and
much land has been
sexual
stolen
orientation,
from
what we're discussing
African American
is
landowners?
illegal.
Nick,
It's
do you know how
illegal.
much land
You
has
can't
been stolen
do
from
that.
African American landowners?
Pardon?
Do you know how much land has been stolen from African American landowners?
Today, give me an example, counselor.
I'm
Today.
saying
Today, what do you consider
Okay,
today?
Send me the case. Send me the case.
Do you know what Black Wall Street was?
Okay. Send me the case.
Do you know what Black Wall Street was?
You're talking about history. I'm talking about the future, Jatovi. You want to dig into the past. You
No,
think if you
Nick,
dig
what you're not
into the
understanding
past,
because
your
this
life's
is why
gonna
you're
be better.
avoiding Mark's question.
Yeah, your life's
This
not
is
gonna
why
be
you're
better if you dig
avoiding
into the past.
Mark's
You have to look
question.
to the
This is
future.
why you're avoiding Mark's question is because
it's the
our
past.
history, what we do
So
today
what?
dictates what happens tomorrow. So
So
what happened in the past dictated what happened today. So
you
your
can't
argument
change
is pretty much ignorant of what's going on.
You can't change the past, Jatovi.
All right,
You
so
can only
let's
change your
hold on.
future.
All right, let's talk about the present.
There we go. That's
the
all.
median
President of the
net
future.
worth of a Black American is $44,000. The median net worth of Whitey is $284,000, more than 6 times as much. So we can limit it to the present and say, well,
And
Whitey
what about Asian Americans? Since you guys like to be racist.
okay,
I
bet you there. Let's see.
Is such racist? Come on.
Here's a question,
You know,
Nick.
like I said,
Nick, hold on, Nick.
Go.
Question, Nick. Let me
What?
ask you before you even go down this path of trying to throw in Asian Americans, Irish
I mean, who
Americans,
cares?
blah 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 blah. Let me ask you a question.
Sure, hit it.
All right, now redlining. What was redlining aimed towards? What's the?
I have no idea. I never.
Here,
done-
wait,
So
in
wait.
LA,
Before
in
we get
LA.
Rick, hold on, real quick.
That
Let me finish
must
this.
be
Let me
a
finish.
Southern
You said
tradition
you
or
just
something
your
to
answer was I don't know.
I don't know.
Now-
And
No, wait, Nick,
it has
you're not
nothing to
listening.
do
You're
with
not
the
listening. We've already got the answer. We already got your answer.
situation.
You
You want to
said you do not
dwell
know.
in the past.
You said you did not know.
No.
Now, also, in back in we'll say
Put it up there. These people might be interested in redlining.
we'll say right now, and this is all based off of the history because remember, our past dictated what happened today. What we do today dictates what happens tomorrow. Now, in our history, what part of our society made up the majority of slaves?
Black people.
In the United States of America? Because remember, the thing is, it's not limited to the U.S.
It's a simple simple question.
So let's
It
be
is a
specific.
simple
You're talking
question,
the
Nick.
U.S. because there were
It's a
slaves.
simple
in Japan,
question, Nick.
China, etc.
Nick,
In the U.S., it was
Nick.
African Americans. but in other countries, it was not.
Nick. So now,
Okay,
black
and I know
people-
you're like focused
no,
on
no,
the Civil
Nick,
War.
Nick, you answered the question. Black
Focused
people.
on the past.
You
I
answered the
want
question.
the
Black
future.
people.
Let's go.
So Nick, hold on. You
Redlining.
answered the question. Black people. So now, I mean, we've just gone from redlining
We love
back
redlining.
further to slavery. Slavery actually had an effect on the redlining situation. So if you're talking about a group that has been suppressed even further back, has been suppressed in this society and demonized and abused in this society, do you think that they would have equal opportunity today based off of the history? Because remember, what happened in the past dictated what happened today. What happened today dictates what happens tomorrow. So do you think, with all the issues from slavery, and I haven't even gone down a Jim Crow path, hadn't even done all those things, which were only they were in your lifetime. Yeah. So all that stuff. Do you think that the African Americans today would have that equal opportunity that you seem to assume that is there?
Absolutely.
All right,
I mean,
so
that's
let me do
because
numbers.
that's what
Let
the
me do
United
numbers.
States is.
Let me-
Because we can already point out that
I have an answer.
black people
Okay.
avoid 70%.
Let me.
You're
All right,
based
so,
on
all right,
a
so
system that
median
provides
net worth.
equal
Median net
opportunity.
worth. Black people, 44,000. White people, 284,000. Asian people, 535,000.
And so what?
Well, so
And that's gonna help your ability to buy a house and to make sure.
well,
that you
okay,
get
so
it.
all right, so let's look at Compton, California,
waste of time.
which is famously a black community in California. You can buy a
Okay,
house. Hold on.
yeah,
Don't talk over me. So you can buy a house in Compton for $640,000 compared to the rest of LA, $1.1 million. And so that seems like a deal. If you want to get a start in California, you buy it in a rougher community. But you know, there was a saying in California in the middle of the 20th century, law enforcement said it, real estate said it. The saying was, keep the jungle south of Olympic. Olympic is a major east-west street in California. And it was known and understood that black people in California were going to try to be held south of Olympic Boulevard. And so those things, that history continues to influence real estate conditions in California today.
And I was going to add on, and also the median income, and also all the opportunities that we keep saying that are equal are not, due to the fact that at one point black people were just here for free. They weren't paid, they were enslaved, and so on and so forth. And that really wasn't that long ago. And so
that is wonderful.
It is not water under the bridge or all this other stuff, Nick. It's part of our history, which is trying to be whitewashed by the current administration. Hence the reason why you are pushing this. Hey, let's just talk about today thing.
Absolutely.
Today didn't start today.
Absolutely.
It did not
Okay,
start
all
today.
that information and $5 might get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks today. But let me tell you what will actually help you get ahead. Not listening to all the garbage you guys just spewed out, but being able to do the math regarding whether you should buy or rent. That would actually help you make good financial decisions, or whether you should buy in this community or not buy in this community. That is what should be taught in the high schools. All this stuff is very interesting and wonderful stuff. Go learn it on your own, but it's not going to help you. So what do they not teach you? They don't teach you the math. And somebody on LinkedIn actually put the math down. I thought, this is really great. They should actually have that taught in all the high schools. But no, we want to talk about how oppressed we were, or how oppressed we were 300 years ago.
If you're going to teach
Well,
us that,
Are they going to teach? Are they going to teach you here?
I'm gonna
Nick,
cry
I got a
about-
question for your teaching high school.
About
Here's
my
a question.
ancestors, they
Here's a
lost the
question,
battle.
Nick.
when
Nick,
Richard
here's a
Stewart-
question for you.
Oh, brother.
Here's a question
Oh,
for you.
that's
Are
really
they
cool.
going to teach? Are they going to teach you that you can't buy a home in a particular neighborhood because you're black? Are they going to teach you that? Are they going to teach you that you are less likely to receive a loan for being black? Are they going to also teach you that you're going to receive less money on that loan because you're black? Are they also going to teach you that your school districts are not going to be as funded as those in white areas? Are they going to teach you is this the stuff we're going to teach as well? Because this is part of the histrionics that is there.
All the stuff you're describing is illegal under the current law, and
you keep saying illegal, but it's here.
And the thing is,
Nick, stop. You keep saying illegal, but then you turn around and say, "What's happening now?" I'm telling you what's happening now, and you're ignoring it.
I'm asking for an example. I'm
giving you examples. I'm giving you statistics.
No, Rick, you're not. You're giving me fluff and
Can you
stuff.
back me up with these statistics?
I'm just saying that if you want to, all right. So
bring the person on the show.
If you want to understand popular culture, you need to understand our history. If you want to understand real estate, it helps to have some understanding of history. I just asked AI, like black people have a harder time getting mortgages. So I said, which lenders are best for black people? And it gives me a set of companies that are either black owned or black friendly, where if you get turned down at Chase or something, you can try Legacy Home Loans, One United Bank, Hope Credit Union. It helps to know the landscape. Does it help to know about the pilgrims and the buckles on their shoes? I don't know, but I learned about their fucking buckles a zillion times. We did art projects about the buckles.
Check this out, though. And this is the reason why you need to learn about the pilgrims and all the history and everything else. Do you know what the way that our society is going right now? Well, particular areas of our society, how you just talked about, you brought up about the white-only neighborhoods and so on and so forth. Do you guys know what the Green Book was?
Yes.
So if we understand,
there was a movie on it to Toby.
If we understand what the Green Book was and why it was brought about, there are issues in our society that people are looking for situations where we might need a Green Book today for particular groups, such as African Americans, such as the Hispanic community. So we are right now in a society that wants to deny what's going on and wants to ignore what's going on, just to feel comfortable in their skin rather than accepting that there is a problem and actually addressing that problem. It's much easier to run away from it than it is to actually discuss it.
Rather than talk all this talk, bring the person on this show that's been discriminated against. Bring them on, Toby.
Mark has been discriminated against, and I have been as well. So to say that, just bring on somebody who's been discriminated against while looking at a black person.
Well, let's talk about. All right, let's talk about something. Let's talk about a not black thing. Let's talk about, like, we have the greatest income inequality in history. We could maybe learn by looking back in history to the previous era with the greatest income inequality, the Gilded Age in the 1880s. So I just asked, I didn't know, how did the Gilded Age end? It ended in the Panic of 1893 when there was a collapse of unregulated corporate monopolies. And so we had a depression. And there was people were pissed that millionaires had all the money, and B, that they drove us into an economic crash, and that led to progressive legislation. And right now we billionaires have a bunch of money, and we may be on the verge of a crash due to AI. So you can look to history to see if there are parallels.
Yeah, but then also you need to be able to do something to defend yourself against this coming crash.
Right, and so the lesson is, Sasha would tell you, get the heck out of the stock market before the AI bubble bursts.
Yeah, jump out of the stock market. That'll take care of it.
Well, maybe it would. I mean,
yeah. And did you study the stock market when you were in high school, Rick?
No.
Did you study the stock market when you're in high school, Jacoby?
Why would I need to study the stock market?
Because, as you know, 150 million Americans own stocks either through their 401k or they own it directly. all right, since it is part of their investment decision in a capitalist society, remember we don't live in the Soviet Union, then it's an important issue to know about. But did you study it in high school?
Did you here's a question. Did you study graphics design? Because you're running an actual network that doesn't use has to use graphics to improve it. So wouldn't it be better for you to learn graphics design and actually media and a whole bunch of other things? Then hey, let me just focus on the stock market. So your argument is
your high school education.
Your argument is moot.
Worthless. And your college
because
education
it can be twisted and turned because what you're doing today.
And all your talk about slavery and all this other stuff isn't going to make you a dime, and it can make you any better, richer, stronger, or faster. It won't. It's good to talk on TV, and that's about it. It's table. We used to call it table talk. You talk around the table.
Incorrect.
That will not improve your situation. A real estate finance class can improve your situation, and that's just the way it is, And if you want, by the way, if you want to bring the legal side in, I think that would be good. Because people need to know their rights, if something like those
you're on the internet. You know what would be better if you do coding.
You need to be able to enforce your rights.
You can make the same argument for everything that you use. Yeah. That's the problem. You know what you need? You need to learn coding and how to create an app. Because if you learn how to create an app, you can actually make your own money and be able to do that. You know what? You're just drank out of a glass. And you know what would be good? Actually, to cut down on your actual on a bunch of stuff, you should learn how to blow glass. That'd be great. You know what? You were drinking a soda, it looked like. You know what? Chemistry would be good so you can create your own soda. So you can make that same argument for everything.
I agree. Like I said, most of my education was worthless. I got a lot of it, but it's like...
So you can use history to get a mortgage here. So I asked AI, as a black person, how do you improve your chances of getting a mortgage? And to improve your chances, leverage special purpose credit programs. That's thing one. Thing two is seek down payment assistance. Improve your credit. There are programs for black people to help them given the historic inequities, and you have to know about them. And so knowing the history is a little bit helpful in knowing about these programs.
And knowing the programs will be helpful, but also educating people to know about the programs would be helpful. And what I'm saying is your high schools are failing people because they don't teach them any of this. So the thing is, we just need to change our education system rather than give all the teachers.
Our education system is in a shambles because AI is fucking everything up.
Actually, AI is doing a great job because
it's not. Everybody uses AI to cheat, so they do no writing, no thinking, and we're all getting stupider.
Well, that's because AI knows everything. Come on, I use it all the time because it's great.
Right, but I call us hermit crabs because a hermit crab crawls around till it finds an empty shell. Once it's all installed in its shell, it's safe because it's got a hard shell. You take away our tech, and we're like a naked hermit crab, which is like this weak.
Yeah, but it's not going away. What you want to do is use the tool. It's like saying, "Hey, cars are bad. We should never have them in the 1900s because it takes away from the bloody horses." Come on, it's over.
All right, we got to go.
And we got to go. Yeah, speaking of over, we got to go because we're over. All right, and we'll see you next time. Gotta hit the right button. There we go.
Right.